Well, welcome back to the Teach the Children podcast. Today I have a wonderful host with us. She is from Team Kind Humans. Her name is Katie Doughty, and I have known Katie since I was in first grade and she was in kindergarten. Back in the day where we live, there was one elementary school in our whole city. And so if you lived in our city, you went to that elementary school. And so we grew up together. And then we all funneled into, I want to say, three middle schools. So we were all in the same city. So we went to the same middle school, which also happened to be the same high school. So I've known Katie now for about 5 years because we just graduated high school. Don't we look just young and with it? But actually, I've known Katie, 30 plus years? Yeah. It's crazy to say that, but and so she now has two kids. She homeschools, and she has launched Team Kind Humans. So I want to get on here today and talk to you guys a little bit about what she has going on, how we can get you guys connected with her, and then how we can just raise our own kind humans and why the world needs kind humans. So I'll let her talk a little bit about herself. Welcome, Katie, to the podcast.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I could talk
Yeah,
homeschooling and kindness all day, so this is my jam. My
perfect.
name's Katie. Yes, you left out a little part that we played in a steel drum band together.
That's right. I did.
Kind
I
of a
sort of glazed over that. And you actually still play steel drums, right? You just joined an adult steel drum group.
I did just join last spring,
Oh,
and yeah, joined in Seattle. It's super fun, and now my kids are
fun.
playing too in the kids band. So steel drums has made its loop back around. But I feel like not many people can say, "Hey, remember when we played steel drums as a kid?"
When I actually tell people I can play steel drums, they're like, "You can?" Like the ones from the Caribbean? And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh, that's cool." But it's more of a thing now in this area. So it's not quite unique as it used to be.
Right. And it's growing back again over here, but most of the time people will be
Hmm.
like, "Oh, that's interesting," and then the conversation's over.
Right. We don't really know where to take it, which I understand. So,
Yeah, totally. Well, I am Katie. I have two kids, 12 and 8,
okay.
and we were not original homeschoolers
Okay.
because I was a public school teacher for 6 years and then had Alice, and decided that was going to be my full-time job. And so I stayed home with her, but she started public school. She went to kindergarten and first
Okay.
grade. Um, I joined the PTA. Like I thought that was my
Hmm.
path. That's where I was going
Right.
because that's all I knew. But COVID shut everything down, and she was going into second grade when that happened. And I thought, well, I taught second grade. I kind of know what I'm doing. I think I'll
Hmm.
homeschool because I didn't want to do the online stuff.
Right.
So it was an easy sell to my husband at that time. And so we did it for a year. And the next year was like, well, kids are still distance. Like there's still a lot, it's not going to be the same. So I'll do another year, and fell in love with it. It was a gift I didn't know that I wanted, and what a blessing it would be to our family.
Great.
And we haven't looked back. So my son started
Cool.
kindergarten in homeschooling. He's never been to public school. We do some co-ops and some activities and classes and stuff, but yeah, it was a journey that I wouldn't trade, but I did not expect.
Great. So how old are your kids now?
They're
Or what
12.
grades are they in?
Yeah, so 12, sixth grade, and 8, second grade. They're just finishing
Okay.
up those grades.
So you have a middle schooler,
I do.
first year in middle school.
Yeah.
Wow. And
Yeah.
then still one in elementary school.
Yes. Yes.
And how was
For
the
what
transition from elementary to middle school going this year?
I feel like it's not really any different.
Okay.
Homeschool just lends itself to
Yes.
such an easy flow of education that it wasn't a
Mm-hmm.
huge transition. I'm trying my darndest to give her more responsibilities and have more expectations about independent learning and what that looks like. But I just feel like it's been such a blessing for we don't have the drama. We don't
Yeah.
have the middle school. I just remember getting so much drama in middle school and
Oh
just
yeah.
not
Oh yeah.
wanting to go and getting headaches and being sick, and it was not my favorite. And we just have avoided all of that, and I think that it's been so smooth so far. Now,
Good.
knock on wood, I mean, things
Right.
will change, but for now, we are loving it.
Good. Well,
Yeah.
that's exciting because mine are first-ish, third-ish, fifth grade, and he goes into middle school next year. So
Okay.
I'm like, that's a big difference, a big transition in our house that
It
we've
is. You said fifth
almost
grade
have.
so into sixth grade.
Yeah, he'll move into sixth grade.
Okay.
And I don't, go ahead.
I told Alice because here a lot of elementary schools go till sixth grade.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's like a soft
Okay.
launch into middle
Okay.
school. But yeah.
That's right. I think it was like the eastern side of the state that does the middle school starting in sixth grade and not the western side of the state.
Yeah, it's mixed over here, but
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I
yeah.
haven't noticed, like, I'm buying our stuff, our curriculum for next year, and I have not noticed any difference in like what we're going to do differently, like the books. The only thing major differently is just what we're reading. It's a little bit thicker now, like higher level reading. But of course, that should be how it is. So I'm like, overall, everything else, nothing else has changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you said you were a public school employee, you were a teacher in second grade. How has that changed or affected your homeschool? Like, what do you see different between what you did there and what you're doing at home?
Yeah, this is interesting because the first year when everything shut down and we had like we weren't going anywhere, we
Hmm.
couldn't attend classes, it was very isolating, but I ran my homeschool like I ran my classroom.
Okay.
And I learned a lot that year in that homeschooling is not replicating the
Right?
classroom. And I have
Yeah.
had to do so much unlearning
Mm.
in the last 5 years because, when I first started, it was very much here's our curriculum, here's what we're going to get done. We're going to do math at this time, and then you have a recess break, and then we're going to have lunch at this time, and these are the things we're going to
Yes.
do. And when the world started opening back up, I realized like, oh, this doesn't work. This is
Right?
not
Right.
where we are thriving. We need to
Mm-hmm.
be out in the world. We need to be doing things with other people. We need to be trying new
Yes.
things and activities. And it's a lot of unlearning how to not worry about checking all the boxes. I'm
Mm-hmm.
very much a
Mm-hmm.
box checker, and homeschooling lends itself to letting you be a little more fluid in your education. And that has been very different for me.
Yeah, that's the same with us. When we first are, so Titus, my oldest, started kindergarten, and that was the year everything shut down. So he had about what, three-quarters of a school year under his belt. So we sort of just got through the rest of that year. But then the following year, I was like, well, if Kara is kindergarten-ish age, I can send her, or I can homeschool her at home. And if she needs to repeat it, I can. But that first year, we checked boxes, and I was like, I had this schedule by hour when we were going to do things and all this stuff. And now I'm like, eh, you know, I'll allow it. Like, go outside and play. I'm like, you get 10, like a 10-minute recess. We call it recess just because it gets them outside.
Yeah.
But after 10 minutes, if I'm still doing something else, I'm like, well, what's an extra 5 minutes going to affect our day? It's really not in the big picture. And if we get started a little bit later in the morning and we go after into lunch, as much as I don't like it, we don't usually have a ton going on in the afternoon to like really worry about it. So I
Right.
agree. We do much better on our own schedule doing things in the world.
Yeah. It's way better.
All right. So talking about your background, how did you get started then with Team Kind Humans? And is it something that has always been on your heart, or is this just as you started homeschooling, you thought of Team Kind Humans?
Yeah, this is definitely a homeschooling journey. And I think
Okay.
having given ourselves the space to breathe and be creative and have time to explore different things, that this has kind of been born out of that.
Okay.
Um, the actual, like, kind of inciting incident where this started was actually during COVID. So 2020 in September, one of our neighborhood kids was diagnosed with leukemia,
Mm.
and she was 6 at the time, and she needed a stem cell transplant. And so I rallied a bunch of moms trying to figure out how can we get more people on. I don't know if you know about Be the Match Registry. They just changed
Hmm.
their name. I don't
Yep,
remember what it is, but
I do.
getting more people on the registry to try to find her a match because no one in her family was a match. And
Oh,
so I dove all into this. And there was a moment when, so Alice was 7 at the time, and she asked me, she said, Mama, can I help you?
Mm.
And my first gut instinct was, no, this is way too adult problem, right? It was
Right.
more something that I felt like if I involved her in this and the end result was not a good one, I don't know how to parent through that. And I don't
Right.
know if I can subject you to that. And
Right.
so originally the answer was no. She's very persistent, very observant, and wasn't going to take no for an answer. So I thought, okay,
Right.
how do I do this in a kid-friendly way? How do I support her desire to help without kind of all this heaviness that is around this topic?
Hmm.
So we settled on she wanted to make bracelets, sell
Okay.
bracelets, and raise money for her friend's GoFundMe. So she started
Cool.
a little bracelet business. You know, people are very generous
Hmm.
when a kid is involved, and she ended up raising almost $2,000 to
Wow.
donate to her friend. So
That's amazing.
isn't that incredible?
That's
And so
crazy good.
I took her to Target. So we donated
Okay.
part of it to Seattle Children's because that's where
Okay.
our neighbor was at. Most of it went to the GoFundMe, and then I took her to Target and let her choose things to bring to her friend in the hospital or to take to
Oh,
her.
fun. Okay.
And it was there in the Target
Hmm.
aisle
Hmm.
that I realized like how capable kids are of
Yes.
handling this kind of these real world issues, but in their own way. Because
Okay.
when we were there, she never asked for anything for herself. And I don't know if
Um,
you've gone to Target with
yes.
kids in the
Yes.
toy aisle. It's
Yes.
usually not
It's,
pleasant.
no.
But
No.
this entire time she was oohing and awing over things she thought our neighbor would like and
Oh,
never
cool.
said, Can I have that? Can I have that? Can I have that? And
Okay.
it was that moment that I thought, wow, we got to tap into this. Like this
Hmm.
is something big that I think kind of goes under the radar that kids are so capable, they're so willing, they want to help. How do we do that in a kid-friendly way? And that is where Team Kind Humans got its wings.
Cool. Well, that's a wonderful way to get it to start and to see it grow. Because I think I remember that situation, not that exact story, but that how that started. And now 5 years later, to see where you're at, to see the difference. Does she still come alongside you and help you with Team Kind Humans?
Alice, all the
Yes.
time. All
Cool.
the time. She's my sounding board. She's the one I
Okay.
bounce ideas off of. You know, we're always trying the ideas first to see if they work.
Right.
So, yeah, she's very heavily involved in that.
Cool. So then, how can you create a culture of kindness in your home through what you do or just in general? Like, what are some things that you do that cultivate kindness at home?
Yeah, I feel like this could go so many different directions.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing that I lean heavily into is actually reading picture books
Oh,
because I love kid lit. I think
hmm,
they're so fun. I'm writing my own. Like
yeah.
I've always loved them. Like even the podcast I host, I want all the authors. Give me all the authors. Tell me
Right.
the story.
Okay.
Um, but I found like books are so much different than they were when we were growing up,
Hmm.
especially in the picture book world. And they offer such a nice kind of there's two things that I've learned. They either mirror what a kid is experiencing or they offer a window into another world that maybe they
Okay.
aren't experiencing. And
Right.
so the idea of windows and mirrors has really kind
Hmm.
of shaped the way that I homeschool and using books because I think they are such an easy access point to some of those bigger, harder conversations that
Hmm.
we know we should be having with our kids, but we don't necessarily know how to have them.
Yes.
Um, and picture books do that because you can get to know a character, you can get to know a story, and then use that as a jumping off point. And I think it's like one of the most simple ways to create a culture of kindness in your
Hmm.
homeschool because then you can have those conversations. And
Cool.
whether or not you know, it's a window or a mirror for you,
Hmm.
these things are happening in the world. These stories are true. These things are happening to other people. So, how do we help our kids open their hearts to that kind of thing?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
if it's something like an injustice or something that, you know, they've been wronged or they're not treated,
Right.
well, how do we teach our kids to do something about it instead
Right.
of feeling sad about it. So
Yeah.
that's kind of one of my main
Cool.
tools.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's fun. And that's books are good anyways, because I just released a podcast this week about the top books I would read as a homeschool mom, and one of them was The Read Aloud Family. And
Oh yeah.
that book is all about continuing to read books to your kids even as they get older. So this is something that you can continue to do even as your kids get older. Read these books, picture books, and they might roll their eyes, but it's like, no, come along with me. We're going to read this. We're going to look at these pictures, and then we can still talk about it and have great conversations. And I find that we read books every night. Well, not every night, about 5 nights a week. And it does lead to conversations. I'm like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And all of a sudden their just minds are, thinking of, oh, I never thought about that. Or, why don't we see this picture? We've just done the modern history.
Mm.
So there's a lot of things in modern history that have been bad. And I'm like, how do I talk about this? Like not at the high level of going into all the details that maybe you and I know all of them, but at their level. People were mean, they did bad things. What can we do if we see this happening now? And so the books have really opened our eyes to all that.
Yes. And I think it's all about your enthusiasm around the books too,
Yeah.
or the way that you approach it, because kids might feel like, oh, I'm too old for picture books. But if you're loving it and you're
Yes.
like, no, I'm an adult and I love this, I feel like that helps. And take them to bookstores and libraries and make it a
Yes.
thing, right? Like
Yeah.
it's just like this joyful experience to pick out
Right.
new books. Um, yeah, and bringing in
Yeah.
that enthusiasm.
And it's so simple too. You think you have to do all this elaborate stuff to show kindness, and it comes down to you can just read a book and it can teach you about someone. And it's really that you can go down to the library and get them for free. So if you don't have a budget to go book shopping, you can go get them at the library. We go to a thrift store here in town, and the books are like 50 cents. And I'm like,
Yeah.
If you find one, then let's bring it home because it's hit and miss when you go. But most of the time, I'm like, we come home with one or two books, sometimes more. But I'm like, for $5, that I call wonderful. And we get a bunch of books, and we have a bookshelf, and I'm always like, go read it. Anything you want, go read them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's a great tool.
Yeah, and it's so simple. Like that is
It
just
is
a very
so
simple
simple.
way.
It is. Yeah.
So what? So why is it important to teach your kids to be kind in today's world? Why is it important that they are known as the kind kids?
Yeah. It's a heavy question right now. Um, I feel like kindness gets viewed sometimes as like a nice to have, or
Right.
it's kind of fluffy and soft and but if you really dig into what kindness is,
Mm-hmm.
it's very vulnerable. It's
Mm-hmm.
very I describe it as courageous because
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of the times doing something that's really hard that
Mm-hmm.
maybe you don't want to do or you don't agree with or you don't believe in, but like supporting other people and standing up for people who are not being supported. Um, Kindness takes courage. And I think I've been doing a lot of research on this and having kids participate in kind activities will actually improve their own mental health. And I
Cool.
know mental health is such a hot topic right now in
Mm-hmm.
taking care of your mental health and how do we teach our kids how to do that? And having them engage in kind acts, even if it's just like writing a letter to the neighbor or dropping off cookies at a fire
Mm-hmm.
station, something simple, their own mental health goes up. And
Oh,
that is something that's really valuable for our children and something I know I want for my kids. And you can even, your mental health will improve even if you witness a kind act that you're not
yeah.
even a part of, just by looking.
Interesting.
Yeah. Isn't that cool?
That's cool.
Yeah,
That's that's wonderful.
I know. And it's like one of those really easy things. Like just pick
Right.
one thing. If you're having a bad day, pick one kind thing to do for someone else. You might feel a little
Right.
bit better, but
It's
it
as simple
improves.
as like opening a door for somebody or um, you know, helping someone to the car with their groceries or returning their grocery cart at the grocery store. It doesn't
Yes.
have to be anything big or major.
Nope. It can be so simple. And I think we make it harder than it needs to be a lot of the times.
Okay.
And I've also read some statistics where people often don't feel like what they're doing is bringing that much value. So they don't necessarily do
Oh,
it. whereas really the perception is that it's bringing a ton of value for the person receiving the kindness on the other end. And
Oh,
so, moral of the
okay.
story is like, it matters.
Right.
Even if it's super simple, it matters. And it improves mental health, it improves self-esteem, confidence. Another thing that is, oh, what was I going to say about that? Um, oh, I forgot what I was going to say. If it comes back to me, but yeah.
That's cool. Well, we do Meals on Wheels once a week.
Oh, I love that.
And a lot of times I think, okay, you're not supposed to just drop the meals and run. Like you have to hand it to someone. But I think, oh my goodness, we have a 2 second exchange. That's it's there to make sure that they get the meal, but also we're doing a wellness check. And a lot of times I think, oh, these people aren't overly caring if we do anything. But I have noticed that we had the same route for 2 years now. The more that we do it, the more they look forward to us being there, and they'll like meet us at the door. And I've started letting the kids pick like which houses they want to go to. And the people who get them every week are just like super, you can just see the smiles on their faces. They're always like, "Hi, mom, but where's your kids?" So, and it's great because we had a couple ladies we would deliver to, and their dogs would even get to know us. So their dogs would come out and greet us. And so I was just like, this is a little bit more elaborate than just doing a simple thing as opening a door, but it does, keep us out there, keeps us reminding us that people just need those small touches, even if it is delivering a meal, once a week. That's all we do. Once a week, deliver a meal, and then we come back next week. And if the next week is a holiday, they don't see us for 2 weeks, but it's like they look forward to that. And so those little acts of kindness really do matter.
They really do, and they're so
Mm.
simple. And it's really all about that connection. It's making that
Yes.
person feel like, I see you, I hear you, I'm here for
Yep.
you. And it can
Hmm.
be so simple and so
Really
easy.
can.
Um, yeah, it doesn't take a lot, but
It
I think we
doesn't.
don't give it enough credit.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
feel like as the world is getting faster paced and
Yeah.
people are just getting more siloed into what they do, slowing down and showing our kids, hey, you need to look up from what you're doing and see that there are people out there who need you just to
Yeah.
even smile at them. If you're driving down the street and we pass someone in the car, smile. And they may not reciprocate, but doesn't it make you feel better that you smiled? So,
Yes.
and my kids always like to look at the dogs in the car. They wave at the dogs. I'm
Yeah,
like, I don't know if the dog cares, but
maybe the dog needed a
right.
smile that day.
Do you ever do this? I don't know if you do this. When we go on road trips, I roll down the window as we pass cows and moo at them. See how many turns.
That as a kid.
Yes, I still do it. I'm like, kids, how many cows do you think will turn? I like 70 miles an hour. I'm driving. And I'm like, I don't care if it makes anybody else giggle, but it makes me just feel happy to see like one cow, look our way. Anyways, I
I'm
just
gonna
thought,
do them.
yeah, it's fun. So I was looking at your website and I noticed you have a kind method. So can you talk a little bit about that kind method with us?
I would be happy to. The kind method has come out of all of this trial and error and all the things
Okay.
I've done with my kids. I thought, how do I put this into a nice, neat little package that people
Hmm.
can use with whatever they're teaching? And so the kind method is 4 steps. The first step is no. So it spells out kind.
Right,
No,
right.
inquire, noodle, do. Those are the
Okay,
four. Remember those 4 things? You can infuse kindness into whatever you're doing in your homeschool.
cool.
So the first step is no. So you're learning about a topic. So
Okay.
one of the examples we've done, we learned about koalas. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so we spent time learning about them, watching videos about them, reading books about them. Um, you learn about that topic.
Okay.
The second step is inquire, and that is to
Mm.
ask the big questions. It's also about looking for the helpers in that space. Who
Oh,
are the people that are already helping, and what are they doing? That's kind of
okay.
asking those big questions. So, this is where I like to look for nonprofits and charities
Mm.
that are in that space.
Okay.
So, for example, in this one, Friends of the Koala is a big charity in Australia, and there are lots of ways that you can get involved with that. Even simple activities on their website, adopting,
Okay.
adopting a koala. And
That's
so that's
cool.
asking and looking for the helpers.
Did you guys
And
adopt a koala?
We have not adopted, no.
Okay.
So we ended up drawing some pictures to help. We got to meet, I don't know if you ever watched Izzy's Koala World on Netflix.
I don't think we have.
It's so cute. We watched it
Okay.
during COVID, but
Okay.
we got to interact with her and meet her, and we drew some koalas for her to use on her social media campaign to
Oh,
raise
cool.
money for her koala hospital. So there's lots of
Okay.
different ways that you can um, do it in your own special kid-friendly way.
Okay. Okay.
Um, and as for Noodle, this is where you
Mhm.
play around with the topic. So this is where we
Okay.
were drawing pictures. We were making koalas out of Play-Doh because, playing around with the different
Right.
parts of the koala. What do they eat? Let's set up a
Right.
scenario. We made fork painted koalas. That's the noodle section. This is where you can be creative. And then D is for actually taking action and doing a community service project.
Okay.
In
So what did you
response
do
to
with the
that.
koala one?
So the koala one was drawing pictures. The
Yep.
other, something that's so simple. There's two things that are like beyond simple that you don't think about that can make a really big difference. And one of them, especially for kids, is just to tell somebody about what they learned.
Oh,
Because maybe then they can donate money. Because kids don't have money to spend all the
right.
time. And that's a lot of the times what charities and nonprofits are looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But if you educate someone else, then you're spreading that message, and then they have an opportunity to maybe donate or tell somebody else or whatever it is. So, spreading the information that you learn is one. And two is art. I feel like art is such a simple access point. And so we
Mm-hmm.
made work painted koalas. And then
Okay.
at the bottom of the page, it says, in exchange for this piece of art, would you please donate to Friends of the Koala? And so
Oh,
they can make
cool.
those super simple exchanges. And
Yeah.
then, but they feel like they did something to help
That's
the koala.
cool.
Yeah, so super easy. A
Yeah.
lot of things like websites and nonprofits will have activities for kids and ways to get involved. So you can just
Okay.
simply Google nonprofits for koalas and
Okay.
whatever your topic is. So
Right.
the kind method you can literally use for any topic,
Yeah.
which is really nice. And I always throw in as much as I can a picture book. It's
Okay.
my thing. And then looking for people who are in that space that we
Okay.
can learn about. So that's the kind
Yeah.
method.
Well, that's easy to integrate into your homeschool, like you said. Like you don't have to go out and buy anything major or new curriculum. You can just do that as you're doing, what do you guys want to learn for science this year? Okay, we want to learn about, like you did, koalas. Okay, you can go into a whole science thing with koalas and incorporating the kind method. Or, you want to learn about weather. You can all do the same thing with weather. And so that's wonderful. That's not anything extra above, totally above and beyond. It's pretty much doing what you're doing now, and then just doing, helping your kids dig a little deeper, and then they're learning to love learning. So they keep
Yes.
going on learning.
Oh, loving,
I know.
isn't that the whole point of homeschooling
Right.
is to teach your kid how to love learning? I feel like
Yes.
that's the point.
I
Can
feel like
they
that's one thing we missed in public school is that when I got done in high school, and then when I got done in college, I was like, close that book. I never want to go back to learning. People
yeah,
always ask, are you going to go back and get your master's? And I'm like, no, that sounds
yeah.
horrible. And there for a while, I didn't want to learn anything. And now I'm like, I do not want that for my kids. I want to teach them to love to learn. Whatever it is they want to learn, let's go love it and do it.
And teach them how to do it, right? Like
Yes.
give them the tools they need to find the information that they're looking for, um,
Yes.
to continue the learning that they want to do. Yeah, for
Right.
sure.
Yeah. I have one
Yeah.
kid who loves drawing. So we do a lot of drawing. I get him drawing books and he draws all the time and he'll get on YouTube and watch videos to draw. And I'm like, that's how you're going to learn to draw. And if it fizzles out in the future, okay, but at least you know how to go figure out how to do your passion of drawing. And I have another kid who loves to read. And so we just go to the library and teach her how to pick out books and, expand what she's reading.
Yep. That's the
And then
best.
right? And then my youngest is just feral. So he,
The third.
who knows what he does? He truly is a product of being the youngest and having two that I was homeschooling in such a restricted box at the time that he had to go learn on his own. And so he just can figure things out. Like he's like, I want to learn how to play the guitar. So he went and grabbed his father's guitar and he just walks around strumming it. And most of the time we're like, just go outside, please. It's too loud in here. But that's him. All right. So how can we get involved with Team Kind Human? Like, how can we find you? How can we get involved? You were at the convention this year, and I know you were at another convention. And do you have any other conventions that you're going to in 2025?
I don't have any currently,
Okay.
yeah, on the
Okay.
schedule, but
And you also, did you speak at the other convention you're at
I
the
did.
Seattle area? Okay.
Yes, I'm having so much fun talking
Yes.
about this and meeting all these homeschooling families. And
Right.
it's just a world I didn't know existed 5 years ago, and now
Right.
here we are.
That's the same here. I was like, until I got into conventions 2 years ago, I didn't know anything about convention world and speakers. And then I opened up and I was like, this is an amazing world out there. And it's wonderful to hear these speakers and to have them bring new ideas into our homeschool. And so, but at the convention, you did speak and you did have a booth, and I saw that you had stuff there. So how can people get in touch with you? How can people find out what you're doing? And I also saw you have a preschool program. So there's a bunch of questions in there. So
Okay,
tell me
yes.
all about it. Tell us all about
I'll
it.
There's quite a few different ways that you can get involved with Team Kind Humans, and one of the most simple ways is to join the Team Kind Collective.
Okay.
And this is like, okay, you've learned the kind method and you think it's great, but you don't necessarily want to write any curriculum for it or think
Okay.
of the ideas. I will email you one every single month with a new
Cool.
topic, and it will take you through the kind method, and then you'll have a community service project at the end. And so
Mhm. That's
it's just
cool.
delivered to your inbox. You don't have to think about it. Gives
Okay.
book recommendations, nonprofit recommendations, activities written out for you, and the community service project. So it's one of those like open and go, and then you feel like you're
Perfect.
doing something good.
Okay.
It's
So
really fun.
the easiest way to get involved is that.
Super simple. There's a
Okay.
community attached to it, so you can talk to other like-minded families and you can support each other. But yeah, $5 a month delivered to your inbox, you're good to go.
Perfect.
Um, and then I have some kind schooling quests
Mhm.
available. They're video lessons where you just
Okay.
press play and watch the videos, and it takes you through the kind method. They're a little more in-depth than the kind collective guides.
Okay.
Uh, those are available on there. And so those are when I will like introduce and you get to actually meet the nonprofits and some people and or authors involved in that space. So
Oh,
that was pretty cool.
okay.
Like we did one with Izzy's Koala World, so we
Hmm.
have a koala one on there. We've done Alex's Lemonade Stand. I
Ooh.
don't know if you've seen that around.
Mm-mm.
Sometimes those
Mm-mm.
are at different restaurants. Alex started a lemonade stand. She was 4 at the time,
Okay.
with cancer and wanted to help her doctors raise money for them. So she started a lemonade stand, and by the time she passed, she had raised over $1 million because then she got other people involved.
Right.
So we hear about
Wow.
her story. That's one you can
Okay.
do. Another one is with Jordan Aberley's foundation. He's the captain of the Kraken. And so he
Okay.
comes on and chats with us for a little while. We meet Cami Granado, who is a female hockey player who's won gold
Cool.
medal. Like just cool people are coming into
Yeah.
so those are
Okay.
the kind of schooling quests. And then I have something coming up in the fall that I'm really
Ooh.
excited about. I'm just
Ooh.
launching it now. It's waitlist only. Um,
Okay.
and we've kind of touched on this a little bit about how do we teach our kids about history without
Yes.
overwhelming them,
Yep.
freaking them out.
Yeah.
But we need to know some of these things that have
Yeah.
happened in the past and
Okay.
the stories behind it and the voices behind it. So I've
Yeah.
created social studies, SOUL,
Okay. I
social
saw that
studies.
on your website, and so I was like, I wonder what this is. Okay.
Very excited about it.
Okay.
And it's going to be very picture book based. So I'm
Okay.
curating books. So every week we'll read a new picture book that will introduce kind of a topic. And
Okay.
throughout the month, we'll go through the kind method of that. And we'll learn about different events in history, people's places, voices, stories, just to give kind of a blanket overview of maybe what we didn't learn in school, but we know our kids should know. Um,
Yes.
it's also kind of my way of re-educating myself,
Yes.
and inviting parents along too of, hey, maybe you didn't learn this and that's okay. Let's figure
Yeah.
it out. Like, let's go find the
Yes.
information that our kids need to know, and let's
Yeah.
do it through picture books because it's way easier.
I have, since teaching my kids and going back over history with them, and even just other things like social studies and different, we've gone through animals a bunch of times. I'm like, I'm sure they taught us. I swear they taught us. I can guarantee they taught us. Maybe, but I don't remember any of it. And some of the history, I'm like, uh, I don't know if we taught this, but I want to make sure that we do teach this because this is important to know about it. And like we
Yeah.
can't, gloss over this anymore.
We can't.
So,
And I think too, like our
no.
education was more about can you regurgitate the facts? Do you know the dates and the places
Yes.
and, that kind of stuff? Where, yeah, I could regurgitate it back to you, but it didn't stick. I don't
Right.
remember barely
Right.
anything of that social studies
Yes.
education.
Yes.
But I feel like kids learn from stories and they connect to the
Hmm.
characters in the story, and that's the history that they're going to remember. And that's the way I think we should be teaching our kids. So that's kind of the
Yeah.
approach that I'm taking in this
Okay.
course. So,
Well,
yes,
that's
come
exciting. So
join us.
that's a wait list only, but we can sign up on your website for that.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
teamkindhumans.com/social studies,
Okay.
SOULCIL.
Okay.
Um, and then preschool, yes, I have a preschool program called Leaping Letters. I started Leaping Letters at a gymnastics academy before COVID, and it was
Okay.
all about learning through movement. So all of the activities
Mm.
were done in the gym. Like we would do balance beam map activities, counting on the
Okay.
trampoline, stories in the foam pit. Like everything was movement based. And then everything shut down for
Yep.
COVID. And so I took it online, which I met with 4 and 5-year-olds on Zoom a couple times a week during COVID, which sounds crazy,
It
like
is. It is.
absolutely
It
crazy.
is.
But it was so fun
Oh,
because
I
I
bet.
thought if I keep them moving, it's all hands on, it's all movement based. I think I can do this. And
Okay.
so we did. And now it's all recorded because I
Cool.
ended up recording all the videos. So you can actually just get a box of supplies. It comes with the program. I'll send it to you. All you have to do is press play, grab the supplies. We go through process art for every letter. We learn about every letter, how to say it, the
Okay.
shape that your mouth is making. There's book recommendations, kindness activities,
Cool.
Play-Doh, so many things. Yeah,
That's
we
fun. So someone who is homeschooling who's homeschooling and they have a preschooler, they could do almost their whole. They could incorporate this in with all their kids from
yeah,
preschool on up, and
yeah.
just come straight to you.
Come on over. That's the
And
whole
they
point.
can learn
Ultimately.
from the preschool age where it's very impressionable how to be kind. So that
Yes.
way, when they're older, we're not trying to impress them at an older age how to be kind.
Yeah,
They
it's
can learn from the
already, you
beginning.
got to instill it at the beginning. And those
Yes.
kindness recommendations are super easy. Like leave a
Yeah.
note for your under a pillow, right? Like
Oh,
clean up
fun.
some toys for your sister or whatever it
Okay.
is. Just super simple, easy things.
Yeah.
But just gets them thinking, right? Get their
Yeah.
brain starting to think outside of their own little world.
Cool. I know at Valentine's Day in the month of February, I've done this, I think 1 or 2 years, every day in February. You say do it like the first 14 days up to Valentine's Day. You make a little heart and then you put like an attribute on that for your child. But I went through the whole month of February and then we just left them on the door until the
Oh,
next February because when I was lazy and also like busy and 3 kids at a young age. But I'm like, I should go back to just doing that and not worry about what month it's in, but just do it
oh,
anytime you see something, put a little note on their door. You were brave today, or
yeah.
you were courageous when you did this activity or whatever. And that just is, if you do it, they are more likely to imitate you.
Yeah.
And I've, I think all of us parents have noticed that if we do something in anger, they're going to react the same way. If we do something in kindness, they're going to react the same way. And you don't realize how you react until you turn around and your mini me is doing it, or your husband's mini me is doing it.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's me.
yeah,
I
There-
think, yeah, yeah,
yeah. Like my
yeah,
husband will come home and he'll be like, "Oh, I'm sure that drama is from me," and I'm like, "You've been gone 10 hours. It's totally from me. It's okay to say they have drama." Or that attitude. He'll be like, "That I'm sure they got that attitude from me," and I'm like, again, I fully own up to the attitude that is coming out of our children. I'm with them 12 hours a day without you here, so I see this.
yes. It is so true. And I think modeling kindness is one of the best things to do for your kids
Right.
because they see you, they hear you, they want to be
Mhm.
like you. So show
Yeah.
them the good stuff. And I think I
Right.
love the notes on the door, just validating
Right.
them and their feelings and honoring who they are as a person
Yes.
is more than enough to raise a kind kid because they're
Oh,
going to
yeah.
do that for others then.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know you have to get going here soon to go get your kids from where they're at. But so we can find you at teamkindhumans.com.
Yes.
Yep. So all
Yes.
the things we've talked about today, you can find over there at her website. I would recommend going and checking her out. She's wonderful. And I was going to say, I was thinking about this. It's no surprise that you and I are entrepreneurs when our parents started up a nonprofit steel drum band when we were high school. I mean, when we were in middle school. Was it middle school? Elementary school.
Yeah. Going
So
into middle. Yeah.
I mean, if you want to talk about passing things down generation to generation, our parents did the hard thing, started up a steel drum group and passed it to us. And it's still, and that legacy is still going on today. TISPA is still around. And then you and I are both starting and launching our own things. So parents, just take this as a note. What you are doing today will feed into your children and into the next generations. So keep at it. These are all simple things we can do. And thank you so much for being on the podcast with me today.
Oh, this was so
Yeah.
fun. And I love your note about that because that is so
Yeah.
true. Watching, like, talk about modeling, right?
Yeah.
Our parents did it. Now we're doing it. Your kids will
Yes.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's something I just think back to all the years in steel drums and how much fun we had. And so those shaped a lot of what we are today. So, and we
Absolutely.
have a friendship 30 years later. Like,
I know, look at that.
I mean, and that statistic is not very high that you have friends, people that you communicate with from 30 years ago. So,
That is true.
well, thank
Yeah.
you for coming on. If you, again, go check out Katie at Team Kind Humans, and I'll put all this information in the show notes. If you want to like and subscribe this channel, please go out and do that. Katie also has a podcast, so go out and like and subscribe her podcast. If you think we both deserve a 5-star rating, please give us a 5-star rating. Put some comments in the comments below, so that way this gets sent out to all the algorithms and whatever else so it can get pushed out there so people can hear this conversation. And thank you, Katie, for being on here.
Thanks for having me, Laura. This is
Yeah.
fun.
All right. Bye, guys.